Okay, we're going to be looking at a few of these inequality problems you have for DeltaMath this week. This first one is a timed session, but it's pretty straightforward problems. We'll look at a few. On this one, it says -2 is less than -6. That is a false statement. So we get that right. A negative is greater than a positive. That's false. If you have two negatives, remember if you were looking at a number line, if this is 0, this is -3, this is -4. You can always think about temperature. -4 is even colder than -3. So -3 is a little bit bigger or a little bit to the right of -4 on the number line. So that is a true statement. Of course, a negative is always less than a positive, and that should give you the idea of those. We'll look at another example. On ones like this, you're solving the inequality. So what I need to be doing is basically just trying to use the same steps I use for solving equations, except for I'll be doing them with inequality. So we'll go ahead and try this one. We're going to add 5c to both sides. That gets all the variables on one side. There was nothing to simplify, so I start by getting all the variables together. And then that's less than or equal to a -3. I'm going to need to add 6 to both sides. So that's going to give me a 13c is less than or equal to 3. And then for my last step, I'll divide by 13. So I believe I should have an answer of 3 over 13. That's a little bit ugly, but I should be able to type it in, 3 over 13. Also, be sure you change the inequality to the correct sign. Since this is a less than or equal to, change it to a less than or equal to. Submit your answer, and that should be correct. Okay, we'll go ahead and do one more of those. Okay, on this one, let's erase our other garbage. What we can do is we need to get the inequality on one side again. So start by subtracting 4z from each side. And that's 6z minus 2. And this one is a greater than or equal to -7. Add 2 to both sides. So I have a 6z is greater than or equal to -5. And then to get rid of the 6, I divide by 6. So that means a z should be greater than or equal to, so change your sign to greater than or equal to, and then just type in -5 over 6. It's okay to leave these as fractions. Don't try to make them decimals. That should give you the answer. On this one, you have a couple different options. I would be tempted to add the 6q because I like to avoid negatives as much as possible. So that's going to give me a 1 is greater than or equal to 8q minus 10. Then I'll need to add the 10 to both sides. Once my variables are together, I need my constants on the other side. So 11 is greater than or equal to 8q. And then I would divide off the 8. So that means I'm going to have a q and an 11 over 8. But when you consider that sign, remember we have to write it so q is on the left. So since this small side points to the q, when I rewrite it with q on the left, the small side still points to the q. It's like I'm flipping that equation around. So since the alligator or the Pac-Man is still pointing to the 11 over 8, it's still going to the 11 over 8 when I rewrite it. So it should be change that again to a less than or equal to. Make sure you always remember to change the signs. And then 11 over 8, and that should give you the correct answer. One other way you could have done that same problem, just some of you might have liked it this way. You might have decided that I don't mind the negative. I'm going to subtract 2q, so my variable's on the left because I don't want to have to flip it around at the end. That would be fine. That would give me -8q plus 1 is greater than or equal to -10. Now I would have subtracted 1 from both sides, so -8q is greater than or equal to -11, and then I would have divided by -8. Now in this case, a negative divided by a negative is a positive 11 over 8. That looks very familiar. And remember, when you divide or multiply by a negative, you have to take this inequality sign and flip it around, so it would still be less than or equal to 11 over 8. So whether you divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign around, or whether the variable's on the right-hand side to get it to the left, you flip the sign around. In either case, you should have had a less than or equal to. Please reach out if you have any questions on these problems.